Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the SoFi Weekly. This is going to be a very fun episode, maybe a little bit heated debate between parties here, as there might be some differing opinions. But let's first introduce this amazing cast. My name is Tanner Manson. I'm from Future Investing. We have on my right on the screen, we have Tevis, the great and powerful from Fundamentals of Investing podcast, or is you just Tevis from Tevis?
You've been hanging out with analysts too long, man. You're like Tanner Manson, Future Investing. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
So professional. You got to remember your roots, man. I need a Celsius. Hold on.
Yeah, he's not forgotten his roots. And the great and powerful Roy Crossroads. Roy, how you doing?
Good to be here. Yeah, I realized I forgot my webcam in another bag, and it's like, well, I'm using my phone, so if it looks different, that's why. But yeah, this is gonna be a fun discussion.
It looks fine. Looks completely fine. What flavor we got here? Peach? Orange?
The tropical. The tropical is my favorite for sure.
Yeah, out of the 3 flavors that Canada has.
Yeah, exactly.
We're always second pick, eh?
I mean,
probably lower than second.
Yeah. For Robinhood,
Roy, but I'm glad you did.
We're last choice. Dude, you should have seen the derogatory comments that I had to put up with when I was in San Francisco. I was getting called a communist. I think someone called me a Nazi at one point.
Both?
Both. Yeah. I think we were talking about that when we were in the Waymo. And just nothing good to say to Canadians while we were down there. So
I was actually surprised that you got in our country, just because customs might stop you and be like, you're being too polite, sir. You need to politely go back where you came from.
Yeah, politely go back. Now, SoFi didn't have too much news. There is some stuff that I want to cover as things go on, but a lot of debate got stirred up online because of another company's actions, Robinhood. Both myself and Roy were at the Robinhood Gold event, and we got to see them unveil their new Robinhood banking products. Okay. Now, Tevis, did you watch this in live time?
Yeah.
What was your raw reaction?
Impressed.
I
feel like they always have great demos. Like they have great presentations.
But you're just some guy. What do you have any qualifications to say that you were impressed by this product?
I am unfortunately not somebody who's sitting in the front row. I'm just some guy.
No, that's not what I was trying to do at all. I was trying to get you to explain your product background.
Yeah, I mean, like, I posted about this, right? And I said, look, as somebody with a product background, I should have probably caught this sooner. But I think how I summarized it was like, SoFi seems to me, in relation to what Robinhood is doing, it makes SoFi seem more of like a traditional banking background. That's not an insult. It's just the fact. If you look at their executives' resumes, they do have the traditional banking background. Like Noto came from Goldman Sachs. And so you can have a lot of success with that, because you can be a one-stop shop, and you can be like, this platform that powers all of these services and get incremental lift on that. But Robinhood, by contrast, more and more with each presentation, just seems like a tech company that's just in finance, where they're bringing all the same principles in the tech space and they're applying it to this different vertical. And I think that the difference there is where SoFi can really have improvement in terms of innovating on top of an existing platform. Robinhood has the potential to just completely change that paradigm altogether. A lot of execution risk there, and it's going to obviously take time to eventually get there. But that's like, in the context of the Robinhood presentation, that's the thought that was going through my mind.
Is that you, Steve? Are you here?
Tevis sounds so intelligent right now. I could listen to him talk for days.
He is intelligent. That's why.
You've been off the grid for too long, man. So long that I sound intelligent now.
You always sound intelligent.
Steve, what did you think about the Robinhood event, and how does that relate back to SoFi?
I mean, I think everybody knows that I have completely changed my tune on SoFi over the past couple of months, and I apologize in advance. I barely slept the past 2 nights. I was at a conference, and when you get used to sleeping on a certain bed, it's just I can't I don't sleep well in hotels, so I'm exhausted. But I'm not a happy camper by any means. This is not good, and I've been saying for a very long time that the two things I want to see is wealth management and business banking. And I just don't think SoFi is doing a good job at executing on diversifying their revenue stream. The tech platform is not generating the increased amount of revenue that we would have liked to see. While we understand why, that doesn't mean that they can't go into these other verticals that can all help cross sell products. And my fear is that while SoFi has been taking from legacy banking for quite some time, Robinhood's going to take from everybody once these new products launch. And it could cause SoFi's membership growth to decline in mass numbers, not necessarily percentage, but you may not see 7 or 800,000 member growth per quarter. It may drop to 3 or 400,000. Who knows? We'll have to see. But I think Robinhood is going to take from everybody, and that's going to take money off the table for SoFi. And I think SoFi is missing the mark, and they better come out with a robust wealth management program soon that can compete. And they better be first to market against Robinhood with business banking because they are completely missing the mark right now. And the other thing that they're not doing, which Robinhood does very well, Robinhood's catering to retail. I mean, look at how much coverage they're getting from the three of you, among other people like Amit, and how many people are actually using the product because of that. SoFi is completely missing the mark here, and it is disgusting what's going on.
Roy, what were your initial thoughts? While trying to stomach everything that Steve just said.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar. I've kind of seen them lagging as far as culture, as far as execution, product ship speed for a while now. The loan platform business is incredible, and if it wasn't for that, I think I've said that before on here. If that didn't exist at all, I would have probably been out of SoFi at the last earnings call. Just with the disappointment in the tech platform and the guidance, it just would have not been there. Loan platform business and a lot of tailwinds have them positioned very, very well. I think that SoFi as a stock and as a company are going to do well. But what this felt like, and I did a video separately on this previously, was that this was their Sputnik moment. And what I mean is, just to kind of cage that for people that weren't around in the 1950s, America assumed we were going to win the space race and that the USSR would have absolutely no chance. And then one night in October, Americans looked up at the sky and saw the first man-made object, which was made by USSR. And then they realized at that moment, oh, actually, we are really far behind. And the United States was. Now, ultimately, we did win the space race. One day or one event or one launch, whether it's products or a satellite, does not make tell the whole story right there. But what this does basically is it signals for a lot of other companies that are in this industry, this is not just SoFi. This is like legacy banks. This is fintechs that think that they're agile, whether they are or not. That Robinhood is capable of launching products that people have not even imagined as being a part of their wheelhouse. Do a credible job, we think. Like, we'll have to actually see how it goes in the fall. Now, some of the products and things like the cash delivery, that's kind of very niche and everything. We'll, I'm sure, talk about that on Robinhood Weekly, but it looks compelling, especially for the high-end consumer. We'll have to see, how much it gets as far as traction. And this should really scare a lot of people that aren't even touched by anything that Robinhood does right now. They're like, oh man, when they say democratize finance, they actually mean it. And Vlad is coming for them. And this company ships products like nobody else. So we'll talk about ramifications for SoFi today, but this isn't just about SoFi. But it does show really a difference between that culture, between that core competency, the skill of the engineers, the style of leadership. I won't say that I think Anthony Noto is a great CEO, but he is cautious, and it makes sense to be cautious as a banker. But they need to speed things up.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that even from the, I think, most bullish SoFi advocates online. Even data-driven investing said, "Hey, you know what? This is kind of disappointing to see." That it's not just a replication of traditional banking products. They came out with a lot of new things that, like the tax, tax filing, or the cash deliveries, things that SoFi has not been able to get their hands on after saying that they've been trying to do tax filing, for example, for years now. So, sorry, go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to say, and think about this. SoFi looked like it was the future of banking, and now it is looking like they're just okay with becoming a traditional finance company that does not operate a brick and mortar location. Whereas Robinhood looks like the innovator, even though they don't own the back end. And that is what is so frustrating for me, that SoFi owns the entire back end. They could have done everything that Robinhood is doing, and they could have done it last year. They could have done it potentially earlier, maybe not, but definitely last year. They could have rolled out some of these products, and they could have put a roadmap out for this year to roll out the rest of them. And they could have been first to market with everything, with huge campaigns, and they completely missed the mark. It is just because the entire back end, and then have Robinhood there. It's disgusting.
You broke up a little bit at the end there. I think I got it. That the fact that they have their back end, or potentially a better back end.
They own the entire back end between Technesis and Galileo, yet Robinhood is the innovator. It's depressing for SoFi shareholders.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's very polarizing in the echo chamber on X that you sort of have to draw these tribal lines and be a part of one cult or another. And, I think my post was mostly, and I saw a lot of people sort of echo the same sentiments around like, hey, if you want more exposure, you hold both, and that you're probably going to end up net a winner if you hold both, because you cover your basis in that way. My stance was a little bit more measured in saying like, look, this is obviously not a positive thing to happen to SoFi. Like, I don't think anybody would disagree with that and say, actually, I mean, you could say it's a silver lining because it'll force them to innovate faster when they see real competition. But other than that, I mean, even that's a stretch. But other than that, it's not a real positive for SoFi. At the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should sell all your SoFi stock and buy Robinhood stock, because there are other aspects with regards to the loan platform business and others that will still make SoFi successful in the grand scheme of things. The first domino to fall is obviously going to be legacy institutions. And then but Robinhood is going to take from everybody. Robinhood is going to take from SoFi. Robinhood is going to take from JP Morgan, from Goldman Sachs, so on and so forth on the consumer side, right? With checking and savings. And I think it's easy for like diehard SoFi fans to say, well, actually, this is not going to be a big deal because the amount of users you're going to lose is going to be small, and SoFi does all these other things. And like, yeah, to some degree, I can support those arguments. But on the other hand, my main fear was the pace and the direction that Robinhood is moving in. They're moving in a very methodical pace. They're very focused, and they're innovating every single year. Where last year, for example, like historically, they've been competing apples to apples with SoFi on the brokerage side. SoFi Invest versus the Robinhood app. Last year, they expanded into the credit card side. This year, they're going to be expanding into the banking side. Next year, I mean, Tanner even made the post to say, like, I think you threw up a poll, Tanner, to say who goes into business banking first, Robinhood or SoFi. And I think that is the through line that I want to emphasize, which is the main cause for my caution and my concern, is the pattern that we're seeing, not necessarily this in isolation of like, oh my gosh, Robinhood banking is going to take all of SoFi's clientele and SoFi is done for. No, it's the trend and the pace of innovation for Robinhood, because next year I fully expect Robinhood to be in another business line that SoFi is currently in. And maybe within 5 years, they might be in almost all the business lines that SoFi is in. Obviously, the bank charter is a limitation, but you get my point, because they're moving much faster. And that, as a thesis, is the thing that makes me worried.
And think about this, Tevis. The fact that they are going to have true wealth management and everything that SoFi should have had. And then if they come first to market with business banking between the two of them, they are just going to have so much road in front of them that they're just going to keep expanding, like you said. And SoFi is going to have cement shoes on, and the gap is going to become so wide between the two of them. And why is SoFi not doing conferences?
You're breaking up there. You try it again for a sec. Just the last part.
Why isn't SoFi doing any conferences to put anything on a roadmap for the investment community and the analyst community? They're playing everything close to the vest when they need to take a stand, show what they're working on, put a roadmap together, and get people excited about it. I mean, Robinhood is doing a fantastic job of marketing and advertising, and those people should get a raise at Robinhood, because they are doing what Palantir is doing, and it is working, and everybody's getting excited about it, regardless of what the market said this week, because the market went down quite a bit. Every stock got hit, but there is a big buzz, and Robinhood is clearly innovating as fast as they can. They have a large cash pile behind them. They are able to finance this. And I think the wealth management thing is going to be big. I think it's going to be a game changer for them. And SoFi could have done this, and they didn't do it.
So I want to address some of these comments here. So, because I think it's getting away from us while we're talking. Vlad paid Roy and Tanner. It's so obvious. By the way, I think me and Roy are actually saying the least right now. And no, we were not paid. Okay. So we actually did have our hotels comped. So they put us up in a hotel and everything. So that was covered. But in terms of
transportation.
Right. In terms of actual compensation, no. Like we didn't make any money going there other than, shaking some hands and meeting other cool people. So no, Vlad did not buy us out. I still hold 100% of the SoFi shares. And I feel like, whenever you start seeing comments like these wannabe YouTubers are traders tricked by the devil, stuff like this, guys, this is why you don't marry stocks. Okay. You're too emotionally invested to think that if you guys can articulate why what we're saying is potentially wrong, it is scary for a company to go after your business with better offerings. Okay. So if their APY is slightly higher, their cashback on their credit card is slightly higher, they're putting out new products that are just slightly faster, and they have the level 1 options and all of the investing side, that is a scary place to be against. You guys know me from my investing standpoint. I like investing in Nubank because who does Nubank fear? No one. But now we're in a place where SoFi could have someone to fear. And I hate being second place. So it's worth having the discussion about these types of things, even whenever potentially the decisions that we made in the past might not have been towards the best investments. But this is also why. Calling me a trader, I've been talking about Robinhood positively since it was $16. I mean, I've been making videos. You guys just don't watch them. Just because they don't get low views doesn't mean that I'm a trader, okay?
Well, and also think about this. If you are an investor and you're not willing to assess the competition that could potentially erode your moat, or the moat that you're trying to build, you're not doing a good job at doing your due diligence. And I think that that's what we're seeing. I mean, I've never been to a Robinhood conference. I dislike the company. I don't use the product. I don't particularly have an opinion on Vlad or anybody, but I could care less. I am not a trader, and I was a very big SoFi bull. And for the past 3 or 4 months, articles have been neutral on SoFi on Seeking Alpha for a reason. and I've cited the same thing I'm talking about today, business banking and wealth management. And they have completely missed the mark. And the fact that they're not doing an investor day, and even if they don't invite anybody, do an investor day, put it on YouTube, and show us the roadmap. Prove why we're wrong.
Yeah, I mean, another thing too that a lot of people like, this is one thing that we need to highlight as SoFi bulls. Maybe Steve is out of that equation, but I think the other three of us are still SoFi bulls, is that the loan platform business is extremely real. Okay. I think that that's actually going to improve their multiple. And so whenever you're looking at their product launches, institutional product launches are not fun because it doesn't improve the user's perspective. Like, so whether SoFi holds the loan or some other institution has originated that loan, from a user perspective, unchanged. So that's very important. But from a financial standpoint, that stays the same. Or sorry, like it does improve the product. So there's no real death of SoFi. I think what we're all sort of concerned about is that the financial services aspect of this business has been the fastest growing of SoFi's company, and things like direct deposit and deposit balances have been some of the most impressive statistics. So if users, like we are seeing on X, people saying that the second this comes out, they are getting out of SoFi. When people say that, those are red flags that you should potentially be looking at. Whether that changes your thesis or not, to say that they are complete, like no one should be listening to this, and that because a company took away a buy button for a single security for one day years ago, for which they never will do again, is a reason to never use any other products. Like, I don't know. I think it's an overreaction to how much good they've done for the investor community.
Think about this. For the most exciting thing about SoFi right now to be the loan platform, out of all things, that is a scary thought.
I don't know. It is pretty exciting.
It doesn't differentiate them from any other bank.
Well, it does if they can originate loans and not have to hold it on their balance sheet.
It is not exciting.
I think I can agree that it's not exciting. Look, I think the discrepancy between a lot of people of how they see SoFi is like they are now confused because Robinhood is being the company that they thought SoFi was going to be. From a consumer banking perspective, from an innovative financial services company perspective. And SoFi is going in the route of doubling down on the institutional side, doubling down on the big money, doubling down on the loan platform business side of things. And Robinhood just has a better user experience. Robinhood is capturing more of the younger demographic as a result of that. Robinhood is innovating faster from an actual features perspective. They're having these flashy presentations. They're interacting more with retail. And I think that if we rewind the clock 4 years and SoFi SPAC'd, that's exactly what people thought SoFi was going to end up growing into. And so SoFi took a path that's closer to a financial institution, and there's a lot of money in that. And Robinhood took a path that's closer to like the consumer, the everyday B2C side of things. And now you're seeing this like cognitive dissonance of people thinking they bought this company for one, like they bought this story, and now it's a completely different story panning out.
But Tavis, think about how much opportunity cost and loss there is going to be for Robinhood to roll out wealth management and pay the big people to transfer. You're talking about 2 or 3%. People are really going to transfer their money there. The money's going to be locked up for 5 years. They're not going back to Legacy or SoFi, and that is also money that SoFi cannot bring into their ecosystem. That is a big opportunity loss.
Yeah, and some people are talking about the bank charter. I mean, that is exactly what I tried to highlight in my video today, was like, it doesn't matter if SoFi has better margins. If Robinhood takes those customers, then even if it goes to a lower margin, then it's taking it away, it shrinks the pie in Robinhood's favor and away from their competitors. So this race to the bottom which is what Robinhood has done in every product line that they've ever done, has been a winning formula for them, and actually not good for the entire industry. From a corporate side, for the consumer, it's great, but bringing down the margins across equities, options, margin, everything like this is in favor of the customer and in favor of Robinhood, but disservice to the entire industry and everyone else.
My question is, and I'd really love to know this. So there's no way to know this right now. Based on this forthcoming launch, do you think that legacy banks are more concerned with Robinhood or SoFi right now?
Say that again.
So Robinhood is entering the banking foray. Both SoFi and both Robinhood really have set their sights more than each other on the old legacy banks, the dinosaur banks, and everything. They do it frankly better than them. And I'm just kind of curious, from the legacy bank perspective, probably neither on the radar much. But if they had to pick and say, okay, which are we concerned more with? Is it SoFi? They have a banking charter. Anthony Noto, great CEO, traditional banking products as well. Or Robinhood, that, excellent CEO. They launch products extremely rapidly, very disruptive. I don't know.
So
I'm curious.
Here's a little fun fact. Back whenever Robinhood didn't have an ability to transfer in from other institutions, no other financial institution could see that their money was being lost to Robinhood. And so all of them were coming out on earnings calls, even whenever they had like 20 million users, and they said, Robinhood's not a problem for us. They were all saying this until they added in the ability to transfer in or transfer out of those institutions directly to Robinhood. And now none of those comments come up because they actually take market share from every single one of their major competitors. So the reason why I bring that up is whenever financial institutions see outflows to other institutions, they will see SoFi, but will they see Coastal Community? And if they see that instead of Robinhood, I don't actually think they'll look at Robinhood as a competitor.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's through Coastal Community, and I liked your tweet, Tevis, on that, by the way. That's a good topic for maybe Bootleg or Robinhood Weekly or something. But yeah, SoFi moves very deliberately. Like they're going to be around. There's a lot going for SoFi. Like I've not moved off of my $25 price target, even though the macro doesn't feel like things will ever go up right now. Maybe we'll talk about student loans and credit score impact stuff, but like that loan platform business is so well positioned. That's not something that Robinhood, I think, will ever compete with, like just ever. Like that's just differentiated right there. It feels to me like I had SoFi and Robinhood reversed a year and a half ago, where I'm like, okay, Robinhood is an exceptional trade, and yeah, there's a long-term thesis that's nice. But it's going to be something I don't want to be in long term. It's very cyclical. SoFi is where it's at, and that's where I want to have my money for 5-10 years. And now it feels like this year anyway, SoFi is a fantastic trade in 2025. Like I'll still have some long term and everything. I got a lot of options, a lot of leaps. And maybe the long term thesis is just not as strong and resilient as I thought. But they're very well positioned right now for 2025. So I'm glad to let it play out. My Robinhood position, my SoFi position, they're roughly the same. So time will tell which one will win out. I know I'm more bullish on Robinhood, but I mean, honestly, like the thing is, if we hit a crypto winter, Robinhood stock is going to underperform SoFi, almost definitely, barring some really weird things that happen.
So, comments like this, Noto could blow Robinhood away if they want.
This is the same. Why wouldn't they want to? This is the same as saying Jamie Dimon can blow Noto away if he wanted to.
Yeah, or GM or Porsche could kill Tesla.
Sure.
Why would he not want to? And so this is another thing. I was going to tweet this out, but I suck at tweeting. People say that this competition is good for SoFi. It is not. So there, who was the investor that used to say this? There was I don't think it was Stanley Druckenmiller. Maybe I'll give him credit for not his quote, but
I said something like that.
No, there's a really famous investor that said, it was Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel said that competition is not good in stocks. You want to find monopolies. Okay. We don't want a close race. We don't want a close match. There's no game 7. We want a straight 3-0. Okay. That is what you want in investing.
4-0, but continue.
4-0. That's just basic math. It's not even a sports analogy. That's just bad. But yeah, we want a blowout. And so the fact that people are saying, oh, well, this will drive SoFi higher. I wish if they had that capacity to blow Robinhood away, that they did that already.
So let me share my screen, and then I'll show I'll show Noto's response. And I don't know, Steve, if you saw this or not, but can you throw this up, Tanner? So Noto posted this
Zoom.
This clip saying, when the stakes are high and the standard of success becomes being perfect, fair or unfair doesn't matter. There is only one way forward: unmatched leadership, unmatched hard work, and unmatched grit. God bless. Something fresh horses. What's WDW? I don't know. And then look, this was my take. I was like, look, strong competition forces innovation, and the biggest winner from all of this is the end consumer, because you get things either better or cheaper or both. And my main thing right now that I'm looking forward to from SoFi perspective is how they respond to this new competition, because we know that Robinhood is only going to be going live with this in the fall. So there's like 6 months from now until Robinhood does actually go live, that SoFi can, talk about this, talk about their direction, reiterate their direction, talk about if they're going to be trying to chase, shot for shot in terms of what they release. Because in Robinhood's presentation, Vlad flat out said, this is a product that we've been working on behind the scenes for multiple years now. And I think it's fair to say, like, hey, SoFi could have a product that they also have been working on for multiple years, and this might be the catalyst for them to finally unveil it, maybe ahead of schedule, or maybe right on schedule. So my point is like, how SoFi responds to this competition is going to be very telling around, me personally. I'll say, I won't, talk for anybody else, around how I'm treating it. Because if they choose to ignore and say, similar to that comment that you put up, like, oh, if we wanted to, we could crush them, that's more worrisome to me than if they actually came out and said, yeah, like, there is more competition and we welcome it. We welcome them, challenging us on APYs, which they said is 4% versus SoFi's 3.8. We welcome them challenging us on the actual user experience, on, the ease of use for transferring over direct deposit. That's sort of what I want to see. And then in addition to that, I want to see how they want to respond specifically. Because Robinhood has a very, very smooth and consistent cadence of now having product releases every single year. And
3 times a year.
Yeah, multiple times a year. And I like SoFi, I haven't seen anything, right? Like even something as Cash Coach or the new credit cards, or, stuff that we know they've been launching, it sort of just comes in a press release randomly here and there. It comes in an earnings call drop. Like, we have to parse through sentences and try to understand through their intonation around, like, hey, what are they launching? And could this be big, or could this be a nothing burger? Like, it's absolutely not at the same scale of them promoting their own products and them talking about the impact of their products and how this fits into the vision. And so the presentation value, I think, speaks volumes as well.
Yeah. Roy?
Yeah, I also feel like the need to point out, and I didn't watch your video yet, Tanner, but maybe you covered it there, that some of these products that were mentioned are likely back-ended by Galileo, like the direct deposit switch. Of course, they back in the debit card as well. So that's one of the things with Robinhood, and I know people have pointed that out. They're not going to have the margins that SoFi has. Margins aren't everything. They are important. SoFi is going to do very well. It's just really a question of like product velocity to me at this point. And that sense of urgency seems to be there with Robinhood. Somebody had pointed out in the comments on my thread, and I apologize, I don't remember who, that there's 2 more events for Robinhood this year. Is there any doubt in anyone's mind, like out of Robinhood or SoFi, who is going to launch the more and also more meaningful products this year? Yeah. Like, even the most avid SoFi bull is probably going to be say, well, yeah, it'll be Robinhood. And then they might say, but so what? It's important. At a certain point, it's very, very important and relevant. I don't know that SoFi can become that one-stop shop. They have a flywheel. They have some great products, but at the end of the day, you actually need to have at least some sense of urgency. And I'm not seeing that with SoFi at all. And with some areas, perhaps, like I think that they, again, once they're actually ready and able to, based on regulators, launch the crypto invest platform again, I think they'll be ready to go on that, and there will be a sense of urgency there. But across the board, it's slow. It's very slow. We see that on the tech platform as well, and that's concerning to that long-term thesis. Even when there's phenomenal tailwinds this year, even with as bullish as that loan platform business really is, I have some concerns.
Dude, like in the presentation, Vlad even hinted at a new product launch for the next event in France in June or July. He was like, hey, stay tuned because we're going to be showing you something even new. And I was just like, man.
No, dude, they are going to be doing like, I heard from the June event that the main guy that's running the entire event, Joan, told Vlad everything that they were going to be unveiling, and that he got out of his seat and was pacing around the room because he couldn't contain his excitement. I mean, their whole, so okay, we're all a part of the SoFi analyst chat, right? There was recently a post that was posted where there was this employee looking at potential job opportunities, and he currently works at Amazon, and he was exploring a job opportunity with SoFi. And he said he might take the job with SoFi even though it had less pay because it has a better work-life balance. Okay? Meaning that he can sort of relax if he comes to SoFi. Where whenever Roy and we were in San Francisco, we went
to
not
and
good.
It's especially not good coming from Amazon. Like, dude, coming from one of the biggest companies in the world, where like the reputation of like Google is that they work 10 hours a week and do nothing in terms of output, and then going to SoFi to have a better quality of life is wild.
The dude's salary was like $450,000. So I don't know. Who knows? But then we were talking with a Uber engineer. Great guy, by the way. Thank you. He said that he was potentially exploring an opportunity with Robinhood, and he said he did not want to take it because the culture there is just insane. And he said he'd rather have a better work-life balance at Uber than go over to Robinhood because the people there are maniacs. And so that just goes to show you the culture of like, okay, I'm not an employee there. I benefit from the work that they're doing, right? So do you want like, now that's extremely anecdotal, but that's essentially, you guys could probably know, I don't think I'm pulling straws here. That is essentially what we're seeing over and over, that they have mid-level engineers where Robinhood pays for the absolute best. And they pay a lot for them, but they are top-notch engineers.
Like people are commenting saying, oh yeah, it's anecdotes, it's stories. Well, I would love to disagree with Tanner, but all I hear from Tanner and Roy after every single event they go to is the sheer level of genuine excitement that they're getting from people at Robinhood building these products. And you know what?
But we're paid shills.
I would love to hear that from SoFi, except SoFi doesn't have any damn events. Like, I would love to go to a SoFi event and just meet some of the engineers, meet some of the product people, designers, whatever, and hear their excitement about what they're building. But we just don't have that access.
Please.
Sorry, say that again.
Because can I go on a rant?
Yes.
Yes.
I apologize. My mouth is numb. I just ate a pint of ice cream while I listened to all of you because I'm depressed. SoFi has a lot of ETFs and mutual funds. What's their biggest ETF? How much AUM is in it? They have all these products that I don't even think people invest in unless they're part of the SoFi platform. And Robinhood is the one that is coming out with the full wealth management stack. They don't even have their own proprietary ETFs or mutual funds. What happens when they go down that route? I mean, SoFi had the ability to claim the digital space wealth management. They already had the proprietary products to put them in, generate incremental revenue from both the AUM and the products, and the wealth management side. And now that whole segment could be absolutely decimated by Robinhood. I mean, it's that they have allowed this to happen without a fight. Because that's what they did.
Hey, Steve, could you just repeat that last part?
It is mind-boggling that they have allowed this to happen without putting up a fight. Being secretive and this and that, and only talking to people on the earnings calls. And that one day when Noto goes on CNBC, and they don't say much about much. I mean, it is really depressing at this point. It's just, I am worried as a long-term SoFi shareholder and a former bull, and I have no allegiance to Robinhood because I just don't like the company, but that doesn't mean that it's not doing better, because it clearly is, and people clearly love the products. And whether I use it or not, I don't use the SoFi product, I don't use the Robinhood product, but people clearly love the Robinhood product. I am not a shill, and I am worried because I don't think that SoFi has a motive anymore. And the loan platform, just go invest in a freaking PE company. Go invest in KKR. Go invest in Blackstone. Go invest in a business development corporation and get paid 13% of the dividend. Main Street Capital has done phenomenal. They have a lower dividend, but you look at the amount of money you could have made in that thing over the years. This is SoFi. I'm sorry, but I have lost. I have almost. I'm getting to the point where I am losing all faith in this company.
I think that is so I'll be the SoFi bull here today. The products that they want to go after are not the ones that you have in your mind. But I've talked to you about this, Steve. I'm sure that they know the value of business banking and the value of the wealth products that you're looking for, and that they've assessed that SoFi Plus, for example, is the product that they want to push extremely well. And by the way, there are exciting things that they're doing at SoFi Plus. Like, they are really pushing this hard. In fact, if I could share my screen really quick, I'll show you guys just one thing that came out, I think today or yesterday. I got this email. SoFi Plus, try it 3 months free. So whenever you're charging, $10 a month for something, it's actually that it's a digital product. It's pretty easy to give away for free. But, once you end up getting this tool, are you really going to potentially give it up for a different service? Who knows? But also, Robinhood Gold could also play this game. But still, I think that this is very interesting. It came one day after the Robinhood Gold event because they are wanting to push direct deposit.
Well, you know what the problem is, Tanner? Nobody freaking knows about that product because half of those emails probably go to spam. And SoFi doesn't do investor conferences. SoFi has no marketing at this point. Doing a commercial with whoever the spokesperson from the NBA is on SoFi does not matter. You think about, we live in a different world. It's not commercials on TV anymore. The YouTube is the second largest search engine. And believe it or not, these Robinhood conferences are getting a lot of traction, first and second hand. SoFi needs to be doing this. They need to stop being secretive. They need to have an investor day. They need to have several conferences a year and get people excited and show them why SoFi's products are better and why the ecosystem is better and why the forward ecosystem is better. But they're not doing that. Robinhood is doing that, and everybody's getting excited about it. And you're not going to win over investors from a loan book. It's too traditional.
So I want to say, a couple of things. One is, people might say, oh, well, you're not talking to like Stock Goat, you're not talking to data-driven investing here, that they'd have a different take, and they would. But look at their posts. Now, they might say that they overreacted. Like, we all can do that, right? But look at their posts dating around the time of the Robinhood event and what they were saying. They were not like, hey, this is fine for SoFi. everything's great. They were saying the opposite because they, like us, are bullish. We're all bullish for different reasons. I've not sold any SoFi in like a month and a half, 2 months, and I sold some options because I was selling a little bit of everything just to hedge for such a time as this. But those guys are like the most bullish guys on the planet, and they have concerns. What we don't want to do, and I guess you do you, like if you want to do this, great. What I don't want to do is get into an echo chamber where I'm only listening to people that think exactly like me, that always say it's universally bullish or universally negative.
Yeah.
I value different inputs. And when I see people that are usually pretty cautious, not hyperbolic at all, or like really bullish and they have concerns, whether it's SoFi or whether it's another stock, I might conclude, okay, I think that they're wrong, that they're overdoing it or whatever, but I at least need to listen. Now, I'm not saying you need to agree with us, and none of us are saying, hey, SoFi is a sell. I'm a little bit less excited and optimistic on SoFi's long-term future just because I don't see that urgency there at all. They have a lot of good things going for them. We're not hating on the company, but there are some issues. There are some real underlying issues. It's not as bad. We're not like turning into Mr. Baloney or anything like that, but it feels like that their TAM is getting stolen out from under them on a product that Robinhood really shouldn't be able to be competing on with SoFi. SoFi should be that far ahead, but instead it feels like it's the opposite.
And Roy, I just want to say one more thing. SoFi can turn this around. I don't want to make it seem like I'm just trashing them because I'm still a shareholder. I have a lot of shares. And I'm not sold a single share. I'm getting closer and closer to that point. Because
Sorry. Hold on, because you're breaking up from time to time. So try again. You said I'm getting closer and closer.
I'm getting closer and closer to selling shares, but I have not sold yet because I do believe that they can turn this around. But they need to get there sooner than later. And you have to be willing to assess the situation and change your mind on things. No landscape stays the same forever. Business cycles change. Business changes. And to be a successful investor, you have to be willing to cut your losses from time to time. And you have to be willing to change your mind when an investment starts changing. Right now, the SoFi landscape is starting to really shift. Now, whether it does a 180 and they start launching products and it looks like they're going to take the fight to Robinhood is yet to be seen. But this is an inflection point right now, and it can go either way. And at this point, it is all on SoFi and it's all on Noto right now of which way they're going to get cannibalized by Robinhood. To go toe to toe with them, and they're both going to be winners. But I'm just not convinced that they're going to be able to innovate at the same speed as Robinhood or get the market excited the way it is excited for Robinhood's products because they're not doing what needs to be done. And they are focused on too much traditional stuff. And I know I keep saying it, but if you're going to focus on the traditional stuff, focus on the big ticket items that lock people in. And the wealth management is a means to an end. There's a reason Robinhood is doing it. There's a reason I've been harping on this for a long time with SoFi. It's a shame that they didn't do it. They could have double dipped. It's not happening. And it could have allowed them to do the business banking and then be a sponsor for 401k plans and pension plans and retirement accounts, SEMP, everything else. It's just so much missed opportunity. They need to really do something here.
I got a quick $5 from JT saying Roy and Tanner attended one Hood event and do a virtual 180 after having their accommodations paid for. Would have expected a little bit more measured response. So I don't know how many times I need to say this. I have not sold a share of SoFi. Okay. I've not sold a share of SoFi. And also I've been a Hood investor for almost a year now after their Q1 2024 thing is what I think it was, whenever it dropped down to $17, $16. So this has not been a 180. This has been, wow, this company is also doing something great, but they are on two different paths in a similar industry where one's going after brokerage and one's going after banking. And now one has been able to really successfully capture brokerage and is now also trying to capture banking. And that is scary. Okay. And I think that people are upset, not today, but over the last 2 years or so, that the products that that SoFi has said that they were going to come out with have not come out. And so whenever Robinhood continues to push forward and SoFi still does not have level 1 options, that's going to make that user base upset. Okay. Whenever one of the major, releases, according to Tevis, is dark mode, that's a problem. Because to me, I have a tool that does it to every website known to man. It just inversely flips the hex code, and SoFi couldn't figure that out for what was it, 18 months? So the hope is for me that right now Technis is supposed to be finishing up in 2025 for SoFi's own backend. They could then potentially increase or ramp up the speed of innovation. That would put them right back on the path of success. But I just think that in SoFi investors were hoping for more than just the loan platform business. It used to be every box was ticked and they were winning across the board, because that's how you get high multiples, right? Not just a single product. We were supposed to be the one-stop shop.
So Tanner, I'm going to defend you and Roy here, and I don't have to, because you guys have done a very good job. But I think everybody needs to remember that both of you really have been bullish on Hood for a long time. And Roy made me buy shares of Hood. Like he made me during, not this year, but last year's stock thing, buy Hood when Hood was not really that exciting. And both of you, people are shocked. I mean, I'm probably the most bearish on SoFi of all of us. And I changed my stance, but that's because the narrative changed. You guys have always been bullish on Hood. I never have been. But nobody's talking about me. Why is that?
Because you're not a paid shill.
But it's crazy. You have videos from years ago talking about Robinhood. Roy is on record talking about Robinhood. You guys have been invested in Robinhood along with SoFi, but you guys have been bullish on Robinhood for a significantly long time. You guys aren't changing your stories. You're just saying that right now, Robinhood is becoming a real competitor to SoFi where they really weren't previously. And there's nothing wrong with that because the landscape has changed.
Yeah, and it's funny because whenever SoFi is doing well, and I say to always re-underwrite your positions, people say, absolutely 100%. And then now that I'm saying, hey, we need to re-underwrite our positions, and SoFi doesn't look strong in this position, then people say, Tanner, I thought you were a long-term holder. This looks like some paper hand, baby investor nonsense. And it's like, no, dude, I just want to see two fintechs putting out their products, and they could be in completely different lanes. They don't have to be competing for the same audience. But yeah, could I go on actually quickly to talk about the quality of the user? So this is something that a lot of people are talking about right now. SoFi attracts a very high FICO, high income user. What type of audience do you guys think Robinhood is attracting?
Do you mean from the
No
banking
clue.
or everything?
You could say banking, but yeah, everything.
I mean, the only thing I know is how much the assets under management is, because either you or Mitt told me, and I was a little surprised at that. I'm sorry, assets per client on the platform.
Right.
I was very surprised by that. But I mean, I know nothing about the company, to be honest with you.
So I'm it's a little bit rhetorical because I did talk with Vlad about this, and supposedly the FICOs on their credit cards are 700 plus, and that the customers that they're actually bringing on are doing quite well. And that could be speculation, paid shill, whatever you guys want to say. The only thing that I would counter with that is the types of products that they ended up putting out. So people said, there's no credit monitoring, there's no, XYZ or secured credit card or whatever. Those are products for lower end customers. But the products that Robinhood ended up showing off was cash delivery, okay, private events to Met Galas, and ability to order helicopters and private jets, like all leaning towards extremely high-end customers.
And you only put out products that cater to your clientele and the clientele area that is growing. You don't put out products for a market you can't sell to.
Right.
Yeah. Like I'm also glad you brought that up, because I have this other screen. I pulled this up when you put up the SoFi promotion, the moment that, after the Robinhood event, SoFi gave 3 months free for SoFi Plus or whatever. Like, this promotion through March 31st, I think, is really interesting as well. Account transfer bonus, crypto deposit bonus, and just flexing on the, legit gold bar giveaway. Like, they had the gold credit card, and I think there is some level of flair there as well in terms of their perks. And I wanted to bring this screen up because it made sense in the context of, like, when they were presenting their banking app, what their actual perks were, like catching a football game or Met Gala or like these very like prestigious type of events. And then when I see the SoFi Plus rewards, it's like, get points towards your next travel. And I don't know, it just, in terms of the flair and flashiness aspect, I understand that it's a demo, it's a presentation, and they kind of want something exciting there. But it's just a different approach altogether.
And Tevis, just think about what they're really doing there. They are putting themselves in a position to make themselves look like the gold standard. And when you're giving 2% on an account's balance transfer, and I heard somewhere, and I may be wrong, that on certain levels of money, Tanner, is it 3% or is it just 2%?
For what? Sorry.
For Robinhood, I heard somewhere that in some cases it's 3% for the transfer.
Yeah, it's in some cases it was 3%. The most recent one was 2%.
So think about this: if you have $1 million and transfer it over to Robinhood, you get 3%. There's $30,000. But the catch is you have to keep the money on the platform for, I believe, 5 years. Now, a lot of people are going to think to themselves, well, if I have no intention of pulling this money out, if I keep it where it is, I get nothing free. But if I move it and I still keep it in the same investments, in the next 5 years, I'm going to get 30 grand for the same thing I'm doing now. So that could entice people to move their capital to Robinhood, and it locks that capital up. They can no longer move that anywhere for 5 years. So SoFi never gets a crack at that money, nor does anybody else. It is just, I am talking myself into, I am so worried about SoFi right now. This is not good.
So, Roy, you were at that event. I'm not going to give any specifics or any names, but there was a customer that wanted to bring money over. Okay. Do you remember, well, one, why they wanted to bring money over and how much that was? This was a single customer, guys. I swear this is a true story. I won't even say it. Roy will say it for me.
That wanted to move money over to their platform, or like
wanted to move money over to Robinhood's?
Okay.
I don't remember the amount, and I probably won't. Let's just say it was in a massive amount. Like,
you don't remember the amount?
I think that I might get it wrong, so I'm not going to.
I'll correct you if you're wrong. Go ahead.
No, you can say it.
It was $500 million.
Which is a lot.
It was $500 million, and he wanted to ask Vlad personally if they had the $10 million available, so then he would actually get paid. He was worried if they had the money to pay him the $10 million 2% bonus for him bringing over $500 million.
And of course, the answer was that they're going to reach out and do what they need to do to win that client. I think that there might have been some question as far as like wanting like a white glove service, which seems like it's something Robinhood is working on as well. But obviously, yeah, if you're a company that wants to grow, you do bend over backward for that, because that's
that
not
right
small.
there proves my point. It proves my point. You're going to entice whales to come over with that type of recruitment, and they're going to build a white glove service. They're going to have a private technical, whatever it is, whatever you need. You just get a fraction of what they're going to make on the money. And this is not good.
So I'll say, I think that prior to a year ago, I would say, yeah, it's SoFi, high-end clientele, Robinhood, very low end, very low end. Robinhood has done a lot to change that. I still think that SoFi, if you look at cohort, if you look at FICO scores, is going to crush Robinhood right now. But they have done very well because of the retirement side of the business that they're building out, the gold credit card, the features with gold, what they've been building out as far as their trading app, banking coming, level of service, matching bonuses, those sort of things, of being very compelling to a lot of people that are very wealthy and have sometimes very wealthy don't have high FICO scores, but that's a rabbit trail. But I'd still say SoFi has a lead there. And again, this is not a winner take all type of thing. I think SoFi is going to do very well. I think Robinhood is going to do even better than that. Robinhood is cyclical. This year might actually be worse for Robinhood just because of that cyclicality with the crypto winter, I think, coming in. People mention like there's a lot of exciting things for SoFi. Yeah, we just so you guys don't think that we're all bearish and everything. When they launch their crypto platform, I think that they'll be ready to go and they'll have kind of the lead as far as that, as it relates to banking side. Like, I don't think anybody will be able to catch up on that. There's a lot of tailwinds on the tech platform that should be realized. They're not in the guidance. The loan platform business is very well positioned based on some comments from the Federal Reserve and based on projections as well. It looks like more rate cuts may be on the table. As long as we avoid like real recession, like there's going to be a lot going forward for SoFi. Like it just feels like if you're going to give them a performance grade over the last, like as far as product and execution, it's not close at all. I think that the quality level of the products, the quality level of the engineering core, maybe even the quality level of leadership. I'm not just talking about one person, but the entire C-suite. It's higher at Robinhood. It just is. And I don't like, as a SoFi shareholder, I love it as a Robinhood investor, that it feels like Robinhood is going after the same cohort as what SoFi would traditionally have. That limits the upside as far as the TAM. I think they'll still do well, but it is what it is.
So, by the way, before we address this really quick, I got actually a message from Tim Sweeney that said the average assets under custody for Robinhood is $7,700, which is true. The difference is that before they had retirement account, it was like $500, and that the average retirement account that's coming on is over $100,000. So the new customer base, really what flipped them over to a higher tier customer was retirement. It wasn't a steady growth. It was a certain type of client or a certain type of product that brought them into an entirely higher end space. And banking might also do that even further. But Tevis, go ahead with the tweet. That's really interesting.
Yeah, let me just throw it up again. So this was just, moving away from the Robinhood news, and we can come back to it if we want to, but this is
SoFi Weekly, baby.
SoFi Weekly, and this came out earlier today around the FDIC saying banks can engage in crypto activities without prior approval. And I was just listing out, over the past month or so, or 2 months or so, the different regulatory bodies that have greenlit crypto, essentially, right? SEC rescinded SAB 121 in January. Then in the last FOMC meeting, Powell said banks can engage in crypto. OCC earlier this month, in the beginning of March, said banks can engage in crypto with some, restrictions or whatever, but they can engage. And today, the FDIC says banks can engage in crypto. So it's like
3 more days, baby. I have 3 more days, Roy.
What regulatory bodies are even left that would stop SoFi from just rolling out crypto at this point? Because this is pretty much the main ones.
Which ones, Roy? Which ones?
I'd have to get refreshed. That's been like a month ago that I was researching that. There was 6 organizations that I looked at that all are involved in that. There's still, like, even with the OCC, there were 2 different documents that they were like, "Hey, we're reviewing this." As far as I know, they have not updated those, and so it's government is not a well-oiled machine. It moves glacially slow. It just does, and a lot of different organizations have to communicate with each other. There is a sense of urgency that's far greater than I expected when it came to the government actually wanting to pave the road for this. I mean, like, you have to not feel confident at all that it's going to be a Q1 thing, Tanner. But Q2 is a possibility, and I didn't think that I wouldn't be saying that at all. Q3 is more likely, possibly Q4, but it feels inevitable because I think it really is.
Where's the Q1 army at? Huh?
Can you throw this up, Tanner? Regulatory bodies overseeing SoFi. OCC, we're good. Federal Reserve, we're good. SEC, I think we're good. FINRA for their broker-dealer side. CFPB, FDIC, and then FinCEN. But some of these are not even like relevant in allowing, like, they're not even relevant in the discussion for SoFi to bring back crypto. So I think like we're really pretty close.
I haven't seen FDIC update what they
Today.
Okay.
What the specifics are, you mean?
Yeah. And OCC still has some work to do. I think SEC does as well. The Basel III crypto, can't remember the name of it, but it was a breakout from the Basel III in-game document that they had. That also hasn't been updated. And there's probably, like, knowing the United States government, there's probably like 6 other things that we have no idea about that probably most people have no idea about because they have the records buried in a limestone cave under Pennsylvania or some nonsense like that. It takes time. That's all I'm saying. And this is not, the delay is, and I keep seeing it on X and it blows my mind. The delay is not because of Anthony Noto. The delay is not because of SoFi. The delay is that they are a licensed bank, and part of contingent for their license was that they divested from the crypto platform. They have to get express approval on that, have all green lights be go. Now, the only time that you should be concerned as a SoFi investor on this front is if you see like Bank of America and Wells Fargo and JP Morgan Chase all launch their products while SoFi does nothing. At that point, we're like, okay, what in the world is going on? But the odds of that is less than 1%. Like, that's just not happening.
So this is the actual, Tanner, if you can throw this up, the actual note from the FDIC today. They said today, FDIC issued a financial institution letter that provides new guidance for supervised institutions engaging or seeking to engage in crypto-related activities. So this rescinds this previous 2022 order, clarifies that FDIC supervised institutions may engage in permissible crypto-related activities without receiving prior FDIC approval. In permissible activities, including activities involving new and emerging technologies such as crypto assets and digital assets, provided that they adequately manage the associated risks. So that's basically the note. I'm sure there's going to be more in the actual letter itself. But yeah, pretty short note. They also posted about this on X. Let's see if we have the actual note itself. But it's going to be a lot of very convoluted language. Yeah, to your point, Roy, maybe there is something in the fine print that we should be watching out for, similar to the OCC note where they said, hey, certain, crypto activities. But we're definitely getting closer and closer and closer, because the OCC one was on March 7th and this one on March 28th, like both of those institutions within the same month. So maybe not Q1, but definitely 2025.
We still have time. Don't give up hope.
It's not Q1, but I mean, like Q2, like that's just shocking to be here and think this could actually come in Q2, and it's not like a 1% chance or any nonsense. I personally, I'd say like 15% chance, which is, I would have put it at 0 3 months ago. So,
well, I wonder if when SoFi reports their earnings, it's going to be sometime at the end of April, right? when SoFi reports their earnings, I wonder if they're going to have updated guidance that now reflects crypto at some point or another. Probably not until they actually launch it. But my thought process is if they actually launch it sometime in Q2, let's say, maybe in the Q3 earnings report, they'll update their guidance because there will be a tailwind towards the second half of 2025 that they were not expecting prior to having crypto.
But Tevis, crypto wasn't even a big portion of their revenue previously when they were offering it. Why would we think that they are going to get a tailwind from crypto when the majority of people are probably using Robinhood, Cash App, or Coinbase to buy crypto?
I love how you included Cash App, like they take any form of Bitcoin or crypto thing, but that's a shill right there, block shill.
It's not a block shill. It's a simple fact that they are huge with Bitcoin.
Yeah, you get payments directly from Satoshi.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, I think it's a fair point. Two things I'll say on that. And like I lean more in the camp that you are. Like it won't be a huge financial boost, especially for 2025, even if they launch it in Q2. My thought process is more so around the additional members that they're going to get on crypto. Number one, which can cross-sell into other product lines. And then number two, we don't necessarily know that the brokerage side is the only thing that they're going to launch into. Like they might go like full scale into, because just going off of Anthony Noto's comments in the last earnings call, he wanted to, and they had seemingly talked about expanding way further and deeper into that crypto space. So maybe that's my glass half full type of view of saying like, oh, well, when they come back in the crypto space, it's not just going to be on like a tab on the Invest app. It's going to be much more than that. But we're definitely going to see it in members before we actually see anything material in financial.
Look, I'll agree that it can't hurt, and it diversifies and it gives more optionality, which is certainly a good thing for the customer base because if they want to be in crypto, they can stay in the SoFi ecosystem and not venture out somewhere else. And that takes away from a certain degree them actually leaving another product better. So it is good from that aspect. I'm just not, I wouldn't be making an investment or keeping an investment based on crypto. They got to do a lot more things outside of it to steer the ship in the right direction at this point. And quite honestly, they need to start really giving us some guidance on these RFPs. And while they've signed NDAs and they can't talk about a lot of things, they can absolutely say, listen, we have, and I'm just making up numbers for as an example, we've been working on 5 RFPs that all have been for at least 9 to 12 months, and we expect they're going to take another 6 months, and we feel good. Just give us something to go on. Just don't 86 it from the conversation, because then it makes it look like everything was bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think even the small blurb that they gave us in the last earnings call around like, hey, here's 3 case studies for our tech platform, that got us thinking about, and I mean, I even made full videos and posts about this around the IRS now that Doge is looking into them and their possibility to work with SoFi to the point where like Anthony Noto is tagging Howard Lutnick directly to say, hey, Galileo can offer this for you.
That was really strong.
Only because in the last earnings call, they mentioned that they're now working with government agencies as well in one of their case studies that they highlighted. In the other case study, they mentioned that, the hotel chain and the SoFi community, found out that it was Wyndham. And so my point is like, even that little tidbit of information additional to what they usually provide, the community is so good that they will find out how to extrapolate outwards and even to dig deeper in terms of getting the specifics.
I apologize for the people that had to listen through all of the positive hood conversations. I think that, in my opinion, it was actually a really good conversation. I think that you do kind of need both sides rather than listening to 4 people all say the exact same thing, which might actually be what is happening now, and it's just 4 bearish people. But
no, but Tanner, in all seriousness, we used to be four people that were all super bullish on SoFi. And it's important that people understand we're willing to change our minds if the situation wants it. And some of us have changed our minds more than others. But we're not just going to sit here and be Super Bowls if we don't really believe in it. And I think that's the biggest level of honesty. And that's why people should take what we're saying seriously, no matter which one of us they agree with, because we are willing to change our minds if the situation warrants it.
Definitely.
Well, I mean, one thing I'll add to that is because, Tanner and Roy were sort of banging the hood drum last year when it was undervalued, simply because it was undervalued. They had a big cash position and they were growing quite quickly. And they caught on way earlier than myself and Steve. But the thing that really is making me more bullish on Robinhood is simply the fact that I was that same person that we have in our chat today who was like, oh, like whatever, Robinhood, you guys are shills, blah, blah. Like, obviously not to that extent, but I was the skeptical person because when Robinhood launched their gold card, I was the first person who was like, it's not even going to cannibalize a huge portion of SoFi's business because credit cards is not even that large and this and that. And I don't know if they can keep up with the rewards, making excuses or defaulting to making excuses. Now that I see it this time around with banking, I'm not like necessarily bullish in the banking fact in itself, but I'm like, wait a minute. It happened once, it happened twice. I'm now looking at like, what is the next shoe to drop next year when they release another segment of SoFi's business and become even more of a cannibalizing effect. And so that's why I'm sounding that alarm. And I'm like, this is something that SoFi needs to address. And it's something that makes me more bullish on Robinhood because it's like, fooled me once, fooled me twice. You're not going to fool me again type of thing.
Right. And honestly, I think that could potentially happen. How long until they go after business banking? How long until they go after lending? For which, by the way, Robinhood has shown that is their interest. They put out a survey asking about if you would do a home loan with Robinhood. They also, there's also tools like embedded lending where they could potentially even go. Now, once I say this is going to be, I'm going to see every other person talk about this. So I don't want this to become the new bull case. Okay. But partner with SoFi to help with the underwriting of loans and actually originating loans on Robinhood's platform. That is a very real possibility. And it might not be with SoFi. It might be with another, provider, but it might actually meet the FICO demands of Robinhood as well. And so, in my opinion, Robinhood is going to go that direction of not underwriting and taking loans on themselves, but actually partnering with companies and having them work as a partner, which they already do with like Coastal Bank or whomever they're dealing with in payments or the direct deposit switches or all these things that end up putting the entire, platform together. So they could be a one-stop shop. And at the speed of innovation of, SoFi putting out 2 products and Robinhood putting out 9 products a year, that could be very quick. That could come soon.
We've gone over our typical hour, which I don't mind doing, but do you mind throwing this up? And we can talk about this at after hours, but it might be better if we at least touch it here. It came out while we were in San Francisco. I don't know if you guys saw this. The Fed, New York Fed, has been putting out a lot of information on student loans and delinquencies, and so this is on their page entitled "This." If you guys want to look it up. But I thought there's a ton of data that they have, not just one article, but multiple articles. But this specifically, and then the FICO score impact as well. A larger share of student loan balances was past due after the on-ramp than before the pandemic forbearance. Past due, it requires, since September 30th. Now it is officially past due because enough time has actually passed. And it takes a while for that to actually hit people's credit scores. And that was one of those scares that was earlier in the week. One of the reasons why SoFi really had seemed to fall a lot more than the actual market. But I'm just kind of curious on your guys' thoughts on this related to SoFi as well. Like, is this a good thing since, maybe people that are in this situation will be looking for SoFi as one of those options on the way out for refinancing? Is this a terrible thing because the end is coming. People are becoming delinquent, or I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, I don't think it'll affect them too much. They're fairly insulated with the type of people that they offer their services to, and like that cohort has historically been very different than the cohort that like is the first to default. So that's the thing that I'm trusting that is going to remain a constant factor when we do our assessments.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say to that is we need to, and it'll actually be very important here this time. Traditionally, you're right, Tevis. I think you'll continue to be right that the FICO scores will be elevated just for the clientele that SoFi really does go after. But if we see a big drop, that doesn't necessarily mean that they even have student loans through SoFi. It just means that their student loan is delinquent. They're delinquent. They're past due, and as a result, their FICO score took a big hit, which may make it a little bit more difficult to sell those type of loans. Now, for the loan platform, I don't know that it would disrupt that business or anything. I think that they might actually get more customers for their student loan side as people realize, like, okay, Biden is not going to forgive the loans. He can't. He's no longer president. That they actually need to do something. But
Tevis, by the way, I'm such a big fan of yours, dude. You are hilarious. Sorry. I just see little comments and stuff from you, and you get me laughing. That's very funny. So Tevis said on his comments that he wants the SoFi Weekly to keep going and that he votes for this stream to go longer. So he'll be here all week. All right. Steve, any last comments on SoFi? Are you selling? Did you sell? What's going on?
I think I was pretty clear that I have not sold a single share.
Okay.
I mean, I'm getting closer and closer to wanting to sell. I'm not planning on it, but I mean, I want to see a lot out of Q1 earnings. I want to see a lot out of the conference call. And I think they need to start doing conferences. And like I said, they can turn this ship around, but they don't have 2 years to turn it around. They need to start now because Robinhood is coming for their clients. They may have a better mousetrap, and SoFi needs to get ahead of this now. Competition is not good. We are very slowly getting to the point where they are not a one-stop shop that is a flywheel others cannot take away from. And that is making this investment scary. And the fact that we do not have the ability to fall back on the tech platform and just sit back and generate incremental revenue from their client, from their acquisition, like how we're banking platform problem. Or at least I thought we would have won 1 or 2 RFPs by now. I get it, it's taking longer, but we're not getting any real information on this. And without that tech platform, I don't think they get a hybrid multiple. And it's going to be even more important for them to win on the side because that's the only thing Robinhood cannot compete against because they do not have a Technesis and they do not have a Galileo and they do not own the back end. And it is imperative that SoFi become a tech company at this point and start winning and proving that they're a tech company because Robinhood can't compete in that area. So Noto needs to put up or just stop. I don't know what else to say on that.
yeah, if I can add real quick, the business to business, like that's really strong for SoFi as it relates to like some of their products and offerings. I'd like to see more acceleration in the tech platform. But yeah, that's an area where like the only business to business product that Robinhood has right now is, through Bitstamp. It's crypto related. A lot of that they can't do that SoFi can do just because they don't have that tech backend with Galileo, Technesis, the banking charter, all of that. So this isn't like a perfect overlap. But I made this video like kind of in jest and to make fun of people that just kept comparing Robinhood and SoFi, and here we are doing it. but I think it's justified now. But in that video, like the bottom line was like, oh, which has a better banking charter or bank? Haha, obviously SoFi, because the other one doesn't exist. Which one does personal loans better? Obviously SoFi. Which one does crypto better? Obviously Robinhood, because SoFi doesn't have it. But with Robinhood rather, launching this in the fall, this banking product that looks like it could be credible. I don't know if that'll be enough to make me switch or not. Like, probably not. Like I hate switching. Like it's not fun. And SoFi is a great bank. I really have enjoyed that experience. But ultimately, like them just launching it existing, them going after this space is like, man, SoFi cannot afford to move at a glacial speed. They're doing some things very, very well, but there just has to be a higher speed of execution, a higher speed of launch. It doesn't mean launch things that aren't ready. There is a master plan. They're not just, guessing at this. And I hope to see it. I hope to see the change. Fresh horses, we ride.
I think a lot of people in the comments, I think, sort of miss some of our points. I actually kind of wanted you to expand on some of the products that you think, SoFi wins in versus Robinhood, because that's the one that I'm starting to think about. Like, I find that, let's bring it to artificial intelligence really quickly. It's very hard to find the winner. One model will come out and show really great results, and then Google will come out and Grok, and then OpenAI, and maybe some people could say that OpenAI has first movers advantage, but who knows until the next. No, but you know what I mean. I'm talking about an LLM race, similar product.
I'm messing with you.
But so whenever we think about like these two companies, the way I see it, sometimes I just get a little bit disappointed whenever Robinhood comes out with their new credit card and it's 3% cash back. And then SoFi goes, wait, we have a credit card coming and this is very exciting. And then they put out their credit card and it's 3% sometimes, or, really 2%, if you want to say it that way. So whenever I look at the products, if I was one of these people that are chasing APY or, maximum return on financial services, there actually is, like, I don't think that there's a product that people can settle on if there's another institution that's willing to give you more money. And that might not be a good business model, but that means that the entire industry suffers. Any comments, Tevis?
No. So it's 10:59. I'm assuming at 11 we want to jump over to the after hours. Is everybody okay with that? And then I can hijack the last minute of the show for a very important question. So in my chat, by popular demand, I'll actually share my screen and present it to you guys. In my chat, by popular demand, I put up a poll, and the poll was, what is Steve's favorite ice cream? And there's 4 options, and one is Rocky Road, the second is vanilla, the third is chocolate/peanut butter, and the fourth, with the highest level of votes at 34% of respondents, is some weird shit like mint. So Steve, please, for the audience.
Definitely mint. By the way, that's my guess.
Please, Steve, for the audience, what is your favorite ice cream?
I was going to say that there's no way you're going to get this right.
It's some weird shit, yeah, for sure.
Mint.
But mint chocolate chip is the best ice cream there is.
I
knew it.
I know Steve
so
well, dude.
Nice. How did I call the mint? Oh my God.
I can build his, even before he owned Block, and he told me he would never own that company. I said, Steve, you will own this company.
So let me just say something. It's not just the flavor. There are flavors from companies. Okay? There's a hierarchy to the ice cream game. Okay?
Oh.
Now, before we just get into overall flavor, like mint chocolate chip is just the best. But
It is good.
you go with Haagen-Dazs, you go with coffee because it's just amazing. Their coffee ice cream is to die for. Ben & Jerry's, they got 2 flavors that are just absolutely outstanding. Cherry Garcia is a classic. But their Americone Dreamin', phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And then you got your specialty farm-based stuff. That whole really thick stuff. That mint chocolate chip from the farm is just amazing. It's amazing. But you know what's a good runner-up on that? The Baskin Robbins mint chocolate chip. Really good. And then Haagen-Dazs also does a very good vanilla bean. I mean, there's levels to the ice cream game, Tevis.
Oh my God, dude.
You've just launched a whole wave of comments, Steve. So somebody said, Steve, I respected you so much. The other person said, Steve is the type of person who likes ketchup on his morning bagels.
Only if there's eggs on the bagel, otherwise no.
Steve has his ice cream shipped from Europe. Can you confirm or deny this allegation, Steve?
No, definitely not, because I live in New York City and there are some phenomenal ice cream parlors. Like, if you go to YouTube and you go to Food Insider and you look at Eddie's Sweet Shop in Queens, it's been there for like 96 years or something like it. It's incredible. You got Lewin up on Staten Avenue, like phenomenal ice cream, and it's just to die for.
So, Steve, if you're
Man.
ever in Texas, I will treat you to some grasshopper ice cream by HEB. It's a flavor where it's cookies and cream, but mint cookies and cream with mint chocolate chip all the way through it. It is. So
I will
good.
probably have to fly down for it. That sounds
Right.
amazing.
You would love it.
I tried grasshoppers in Japan. It's they're like dried, like they're crispy like chips. Yeah, totally different story. Anyways, I think we can wrap there, Tanner.
You can tell a lot by people's ice cream favorites. I mean, honestly.
I legitimately, so they had like a free sample of this stuff. And so I was eating it and I'm like, so are there no grasshoppers in it? I was serious. They thought I was messing with them. I love trying things. Like and they're like, yeah, sorry, there's no real grasshoppers in it. I'm like, I guess we'll buy it anyway, but you know.
Dude, I love my mom. Great person, but her favorite ice cream was Tiger Tail, which is orange and black licorice. And honestly, it's the worst thing about her. I mean, it's got to be like, who eats that? Like, it's just, I think it's so funny whenever people have these weird ice cream flavors. And maybe I'm weird, but I'm sure I fall somewhere on the Rocky Road category.
You're definitely weird. All right, let's wrap up there, folks. Thank you so much for joining us for SoFi Weekly. We are all still bullish on SoFi, all still holding SoFi, and we will see you next week for SoFi Weekly. And also, if you are a member of the channel, make sure you check out the After Hours show where Steve is going to tell us other categories that are his favorites. And with that, thank you so much.
Well, I mean, are we going to talk about bakeries or not? Like, that's like,
Yeah, only New York spots.
We could go down a slippery slope going down that bakery road.
He's a bagel guy for sure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. Really do appreciate your time. But Roy,
bye for now.
The fact that